The sky over mining colony Epsilon 7 burned red and orange as explosions lit up the night. Sergeant Marcus Kane ran through the smoke, his heart pounding in his chest. Behind him, buildings collapsed into dust and fire. The Kralix Empire had come without warning, just like always. Marcus pressed his back against a broken wall and checked his rifle. 3 magazines left. Not good. His comm unit crackled with desperate voices from his squad. "Fall back to the evacuation point," Lieutenant Davis shouted through the static. "We've got 5 minutes before they overrun our position." Marcus looked around the ruins of what used to be a peaceful mining town. 2 weeks ago, families lived here. Children played in these streets. Now everything was broken and burning. The Kralix Empire wanted this colony's resources, and they did not care who died to get them. He pushed forward through the wreckage, trying to reach the evacuation zone 3 blocks away. That is when he heard it, a sound that made him freeze in his tracks. Crying. A child's crying. Marcus stopped and listened carefully. There it was again, coming from a partially collapsed building to his left. His training told him to keep moving. The Kralix ground forces would be here in minutes. Every second counted. But the crying continued, high-pitched and terrified. Marcus cursed under his breath and turned toward the sound. He climbed over broken concrete and twisted metal, following the cries. Inside the ruined building, darkness swallowed everything. He activated his helmet light and swept it across the interior. His blood went cold. In the corner, pressed against a fallen game, sat a small child. But this was not a human child. The skin glowed with a faint blue-silver shimmer. 6 fingers gripped a torn piece of cloth. Large violet eyes, twice the size of human eyes, stared at him in pure terror. A Kralix child. Marcus's finger tensed on his trigger. Enemy. This was the enemy. The same species that killed his friends. The same species that destroyed this colony. His mind flashed to the faces of the soldiers he had lost. Good people, dead because of the Kralix. The child whimpered and tried to make itself smaller. Marcus lowered his rifle slightly. The child could not be more than 6 or 7 years old in human terms. It wore simple clothing, now torn and dirty. A civilian, probably got separated from its family during the chaos. "Vance, what's your position?" Lieutenant Davis's voice crackled in his ear. "We're leaving in 3 minutes, with or without you." Marcus looked at the child, then at his rifle, back to the child. 3 minutes. He could leave right now. No one would know. This was war. The Kralix showed no mercy to human civilians. Why should he be different? The child's violet eyes filled with tears. It did not look like a soldier or a monster. It looked like every scared kid Marcus had ever seen in war zones. Lost, alone, waiting to die. "Damn it," Marcus muttered. He slung his rifle over his shoulder and approached slowly, hands raised. "Easy, kid. I'm not going to hurt you." The Kralix child did not understand English, but it seemed to sense his intention. It did not run or scream. Marcus reached out carefully, and the child hesitated, then took his hand with its small 6-fingered grip. Marcus lifted the child and held it close to his chest. The kid weighed almost nothing. He could feel its rapid heartbeat against his armor. "Okay, we're getting out of here." He moved toward the exit, carrying the child carefully. That is when the world exploded. A massive plasma blast hit the building's far wall. The structure groaned and began to collapse. Marcus ran, but rubble fell around him like rain. He burst through the doorway just as the entire building came down behind them. Marcus stumbled into the street and looked up. His heart stopped. 3 Kralix war machines stood 50 meters away. Each one towered 3 stories high, equipped with plasma cannons and missile pods. Their sensors swept the area, hunting for targets, and they were looking directly at Marcus. He dove behind a pile of debris, still holding the child. The Kralix machines did not fire. They moved slowly, carefully. They had seen the child in his arms. Marcus's comm unit screamed with voices. "Contact! Contact! Kralix mechs in the central square! All units fall back immediately! They're cutting off our retreat!" Marcus looked at the child in his arms. It stared up at him with those huge violet eyes. The Kralix machines moved closer, their weapons charging. They couldn't get a clean shot without risking the child. That is when Marcus understood. The machines weren't here for him. They were here for the child. This was a rescue mission, not an attack. A Kralix officer's voice boomed across the battlefield in broken English. "Human soldier, release the young one. You will not be harmed." Marcus's mind raced. If he gave up the child, maybe they would let him go. Maybe he could still reach the evacuation point. His squad needed him. But something felt wrong. The Kralix mechs had their weapons locked and ready. The moment he handed over the child, they could easily kill him. Why leave a witness? "You have 10 seconds, human, then we fire," the Kralix officer called out. Marcus looked at the child, then at his rifle, back to the child. 3 minutes. He could leave right now. No one would know. This was war. The Kralix showed no mercy to human civilians. Why should he be different? The child's violet eyes filled with tears. It did not look like a soldier or a monster. It looked like every scared kid Marcus had ever seen in war zones. Lost, alone, waiting to die. "Damn it," Marcus muttered. He slung his rifle over his shoulder and approached slowly, hands raised. "Easy, kid. I'm not going to hurt you." The Kralix child did not understand English, but it seemed to sense his intention. It did not run or scream. Marcus reached out carefully, and the child hesitated, then took his hand with its small 6-fingered grip. Marcus lifted the child and held it close to his chest. The kid weighed almost nothing. He could feel its rapid heartbeat against his armor. "Okay, we're getting out of here." He moved toward the exit, carrying the child carefully. That is when the world exploded. A massive plasma blast hit the building's far wall. The structure groaned and began to collapse. Marcus ran, but rubble fell around him like rain. He burst through the doorway just as the entire building came down behind them. Marcus stumbled into the street and looked up. His heart stopped. 3 Kralix war machines stood 50 meters away. Each one towered 3 stories high, equipped with plasma cannons and missile pods. Their sensors swept the area, hunting for targets, and they were looking directly at Marcus. He dove behind a pile of debris, still holding the child. The Kralix machines did not fire. They moved slowly, carefully. They had seen the child in his arms. Marcus's comm unit screamed with voices. "Contact! Contact! Kralix mechs in the central square! All units fall back immediately! They're cutting off our retreat!" Marcus looked at the child in his arms. It stared up at him with those huge violet eyes. The Kralix machines moved closer, their weapons charging. They couldn't get a clean shot without risking the child. That is when Marcus understood. The machines weren't here for him. They were here for the child. This was a rescue mission, not an attack. A Kralix officer's voice boomed across the battlefield in broken English. "Human soldier, release the young one. You will not be harmed." Marcus's mind raced. If he gave up the child, maybe they would let him go. Maybe he could still reach the evacuation point. His squad needed him. But something felt wrong. The Kralix mechs had their weapons locked and ready. The moment he handed over the child, they could easily kill him. Why leave a witness? "You have 10 seconds, human, then we fire," the Kralix officer called out. Marcus looked at the child, then at his rifle, back to the child. 3 minutes. He could leave right now. No one would know. This was war. The Kralix showed no mercy to human civilians. Why should he be different? The child's violet eyes filled with tears. It did not look like a soldier or a monster. It looked like every scared kid Marcus had ever seen in war zones. Lost, alone, waiting to die. "Damn it," Marcus muttered. He slung his rifle over his shoulder and approached slowly, hands raised. "Easy, kid. I'm not going to hurt you." The Kralix child did not understand English, but it seemed to sense his intention. It did not run or scream. Marcus reached out carefully, and the child hesitated, then took his hand with its small 6-fingered grip. Marcus lifted the child and held it close to his chest. The kid weighed almost nothing. He could feel its rapid heartbeat against his armor. "Okay, we're getting out of here." He moved toward the exit, carrying the child carefully. That is when the world exploded. A massive plasma blast hit the building's far wall. The structure groaned and began to collapse. Marcus ran, but rubble fell around him like rain. He burst through the doorway just as the entire building came down behind them. Marcus stumbled into the street and looked up. His heart stopped. 3 Kralix war machines stood 50 meters away. Each one towered 3 stories high, equipped with plasma cannons and missile pods. Their sensors swept the area, hunting for targets, and they were looking directly at Marcus. He dove behind a pile of debris, still holding the child. The Kralix machines did not fire. They moved slowly, carefully. They had seen the child in his arms. Marcus's comm unit screamed with voices. "Contact! Contact! Kralix mechs in the central square! All units fall back immediately! They're cutting off our retreat!" Marcus looked at the child in his arms. It stared up at him with those huge violet eyes. The Kralix machines moved closer, their weapons charging. They couldn't get a clean shot without risking.
Marcus woke up screaming. Not from pain, not from nightmares. He was screaming because someone else's terror was flooding through his mind like ice water. A child's fear, raw and overwhelming. His eyes snapped open. White ceiling, medical bay, monitors beeping steadily. But the fear did not stop. It pulsed through his thoughts like a second heartbeat. "Nurse!" Marcus gasped. "Something's wrong. I can feel—" He stopped. Sitting in a chair beside his bed was the Kralix child, the one he had saved. She was awake, staring at him with those huge violet eyes. And the moment Marcus looked at her, the fear in his mind vanished, replaced by relief, joy, safety, emotions that were not his own. "What the hell?" Marcus whispered. The Kralix child tilted her head. She opened her mouth and spoke in clicking Kralix language. Marcus should not have understood a single word. He had never studied the language, never even heard it properly before. But he understood everything. "You came back," the child said. "I thought you were gone forever." Marcus's blood turned to ice. How am I understanding you?" The medical bay door hissed open. A woman in a white lab coat rushed in, flanked by 2 armed guards. She was Asian, maybe 40 years old, with gray streaks in her black hair and eyes that looked like they had not slept in days. "Sergeant Kane," she said quickly, "I'm Dr. Sarah Chen, xenobiologist. Please stay calm. What you're experiencing is—" "I can hear her thoughts. I can feel what she's feeling. What the hell did you people do to me?" Dr. Chen exchanged glances with the guards. "We didn't do anything, Sergeant. You did this to yourself. Or rather, it happened when you died saving her." "Died?" Marcus tried to sit up. Pain shot through his back. "I didn't die. I'm right here." "Your heart stopped for 3.8 seconds, Dr. Chen said, pulling up a holographic display from her tablet. Medical charts appeared in the air between them. "According to our field medics, you were clinically dead. Then something happened. Your heart restarted on its own, and when it did, your brain patterns changed." She swiped through several brain scans. Marcus saw his own neural activity displayed in glowing blue lines. But there was something else. Red lines interweaving with the blue, creating patterns that looked almost like connections. "What am I looking at?" Marcus asked. "A life bond," Dr. Chen said quietly. "One of the rarest phenomena in Kralix biology. We've only read about it in ancient texts we captured from their archives. We never thought it was real." The Kralix child stood up and moved closer to Marcus's bed. The guards raised their weapons slightly, but Dr. Chen waved them down. "It's okay," the doctor said. "She won't hurt him. She can't. Not anymore." Marcus looked at the child. Up close, he could see details he had missed before. The silver-blue skin had faint patterns, like scales but softer. Her violet eyes had 3 pupils each, arranged in a triangle, and when she breathed, the air around her shimmered slightly with a lavender glow. "What's her name?" Marcus asked. Dr. Chen checked her notes. "We don't know. She won't tell us. She'll only talk to you." Marcus looked at the child and spoke in her language without thinking. "What's your name?" The Kralix child's eyes widened with happiness. "Zara. My name is Zara." "Okay, Zara. Can you tell me what happened when I saved you?" Zara reached out and touched Marcus's hand with her 6 fingers. The moment contact was made, Marcus's mind exploded with images. He saw himself from Zara's perspective, saw himself running while carrying her, saw the plasma cannon charging, saw himself turn and shield her with his body, felt her terror as the blast hit him, felt her desperation as his heart stopped. And then he felt something else, a surge of energy from deep inside Zara, ancient, instinctive, a biological response that her species had evolved over millions of years. When someone willingly died to save a Kralix child, that child's body released a flood of neural bonding chemicals. It was survival mechanism, a way to create an unbreakable connection with a protector, to ensure the child would never be abandoned again. But the bonding chemicals were designed for Kralix biology. They had never mixed with human DNA before. Marcus pulled his hand back, gasping. I saw all of that in 1 second. The bond works both ways, Dr. Chen explained. You can feel her emotions, see her memories, and she can feel yours. It's permanent. There's no known way to break it. Marcus stared at Zara. The child looked back at him with complete trust. In her mind, he was not just the soldier who saved her. He was something more, something sacred. Father who chose. That's what you are now. I'm not your father, Marcus said, but even as he spoke, he felt Zara's hurt at the rejection. It hit him like a punch to the stomach. He gasped and grabbed his chest. Dr. Chen leaned forward. Sergeant, I need you to understand something very important. This bond is not just emotional, it's physical. Her pain is your pain now. Her fear is your fear. If something happens to her, you will feel it as if it's happening to you. And if something happens to me? Marcus asked. Dr. Chen's silence was answer enough. Marcus closed his eyes. This was impossible. He was a soldier. He had a mission. He had a life. He could not be tied to an alien child forever. There has to be a way to undo this, he said. There is, Dr. Chen said softly, but you won't like it. Tell me, one of you has to die. The words hung in the air like poison. Marcus looked at Zara. The child had moved even closer. She was holding on to Marcus's bed rail now, her small fingers gripping tight. In her mind, Marcus felt absolute certainty. She would rather die than lose him. No, Marcus said firmly, that's not an option. Then you need to accept this, Sergeant, because the situation just got a lot more complicated. She pulled up another holographic display. This one showed a Kralix military profile. The image was a tall female Kralix warrior, nearly 9 feet in height. Her skin was deeper blue than Zara's, marked with ceremonial scars. She wore battle armor adorned with medals and symbols of rank. Her 4 eyes blazed with intelligence and barely contained fury. High Commander Velrin, Dr. Chen said, Supreme Military Leader of the Kralix Third Fleet, responsible for the destruction of 3 human colonies, personally led the assault on Epsilon 7, and according to genetic testing we ran on Zara. She paused for effect. She's Zara's mother. Marcus felt his heart stop the second time in 3 days. You're telling me I saved the daughter of their top military commander? Not just any commander. Velrin is 3rd in line to the Kralix Imperial throne. Zara is royalty, Sergeant, and you're bonded to her. Marcus's mind raced. This changed everything. The Kralix would never stop looking for Zara, and now that he was bonded to her, they would never stop looking for him either. Does Velrin know? Does she know her daughter is alive? Dr. Chen shook her head. We don't think so. Our intel suggests the Kralix believe Zara died in the bombing. They pulled back from Epsilon 7 completely, just left. No follow-up attacks, nothing. It was strange. They were grieving, Marcus realized. They thought they had killed their own child in the assault. Exactly, Dr. Chen said. But here's the problem. We ran a scan on Zara 3 hours ago. Standard medical protocol. The scan uses quantum resonance to check for internal injuries. And quantum resonance scans can be detected across vast distances by Kralix medical technology.
If Velrin has people monitoring for Zara's biological signature, Dr. Chen didn't need to finish. Marcus understood. She knows, Marcus whispered. We can't be sure, Dr. Chen said, but if she does know, she'll come, and she'll bring an army. Marcus looked down at Zara. The child had climbed onto Marcus's bed now, curling up beside him like a small alien cat. She radiated contentment through the bond. She felt safe for the first time since the bombing. Marcus reached out and gently touched her head. Zara made a soft purring sound. Through the bond, Marcus felt her memories flowing freely now. He saw her life before the war, saw Velrin singing her to sleep with strange, beautiful songs, saw a loving mother who told stories of ancient heroes, saw a home filled with warmth and light. And then she saw the day everything changed, the day the war began. Marcus saw through Zara's eyes as Velrin received a message, saw her mother's face twist with rage and grief, saw Krallick's officials arguing in a great hall, saw words Marcus didn't understand but felt the meaning behind them. Betrayal, massacre, revenge. They didn't start the war, Marcus whispered. Dr. Chen frowned. What? The Krallicks, they didn't fire first. Something happened, something that made them. Alarms screamed throughout the medical bay. Red lights flashed. Automated voices shouted warnings. Incoming vessel. Unknown signature. All personnel to battle stations. Dr. Chen's tablet lit up with emergency messages. Her face went pale. Oh no. Oh God, no. What is it? Marcus demanded. Long-range sensors just picked up a ship entering orbit. It's not a military vessel. It's civilian class, but the energy signature... She turned her tablet so Marcus could see. On the screen was a ship unlike anything he had seen before. Sleek, elegant, covered in symbols that
The neutral zone was a nightmare dressed as diplomacy. Marcus stood in the center of an airlock chamber between the human station and Velrin's ship. The room was cold, sterile, and filled with enough tension to snap steel cables. Behind him, through reinforced glass, Admiral Morrison watched with his hand hovering over a button that would seal the airlock and vent Marcus into space if things went wrong. In front of Marcus, the outer door remained closed. Velrin had not arrived yet. Zara clung to Marcus's leg, her small six-fingered hands gripping his uniform. Dr. Chen had argued against bringing the child. Too dangerous, too unpredictable. But Zara had screamed when they tried to separate her from Marcus. Not just screamed, the bond had amplified her terror so powerfully that Marcus had collapsed, clutching his chest as phantom pain tore through his heart. They had no choice. Where Marcus went, Zara went. "Remember the plan, Sergeant." Admiral Morrison's voice crackled through Marcus's earpiece. "You observe, you listen, you do not agree to anything. We still don't know if this is a trap." Marcus touched the small tracker they had hidden in his uniform. If Velrin tried to take him, human forces would know his location. Not that it would matter much. Velrin commanded a fleet that had destroyed entire colonies. One soldier would not be worth starting a bigger war over. The outer door hissed. Marcus felt Zara's emotions spike. Joy, fear, love, anxiety, all crashing through the bond at once. He gritted his teeth and stayed standing. The door opened. High Commander Velrin stepped through, and Marcus understood immediately why the Krallick's empire feared and respected her in equal measure. She was massive, nearly 9 feet tall, with shoulders broad enough to wear battle armor that could crush tanks. Her skin was deep sapphire blue, marked with silver scars that formed patterns across her arms and face, traditional warrior markings. Each scar represented a battle won, an enemy defeated, a challenge overcome. But it was her eyes that froze Marcus in place. 4 eyes, 2 on each side of her face, arranged vertically. All 4 locked onto him with an intensity that felt like standing in front of a plasma cannon. Those eyes held intelligence, fury, grief, and something else Marcus could not quite identify. Recognition. Velrin wore no armor, no weapons, just simple gray robes that made her look less like a military commander and more like a mother coming home from a long journey.
Her 4 hands hung at her sides, empty and non-threatening. For 5 seconds, nobody moved, nobody spoke. Then Zara broke free from Marcus and ran toward her mother. "Mama!" the child cried in Kralix. Velryn dropped to her knees, all 4 arms opened wide. Zara crashed into her mother's embrace, and Velryn wrapped herself completely around her daughter. The massive warrior shook as she held Zara close. No sounds came from her, but Marcus saw tears streaming down her face, glowing tears that left faint trails of light on her dark blue skin. Through the bond, Marcus felt Zara's emotions, pure happiness, relief, love so powerful it felt like drowning in warm sunlight. But he also felt something else, something new, pain. Not Zara's pain. This was different, sharper, older. It came from somewhere outside the bond, pressing against Marcus's mind like someone knocking on a door. Velryn's pain. Marcus staggered. What the? Velryn's 4 eyes snapped up from Zara and locked onto Marcus. Her expression changed from joy to shock to something that looked almost like fear. "Impossible," she whispered in Kralix. Marcus understood every word. "You feel it too." "Feel what?" Marcus demanded. "What's happening?" Velryn stood slowly, still holding Zara. She took 3 careful steps toward Marcus. Each step made the strange pain in Marcus's mind grow stronger. Not unbearable, just present, like an old wound that never fully healed. "The bond," Velryn said. "It should only connect you and Zara. That is how life bonds work. The protector and the child. 2 minds, 2 hearts." She stopped 3 feet away from Marcus. Her 4 eyes studied him with scientific precision. "The bond continued," Velryn said, "but I feel you in my mind, faint like an echo. How is this possible?" Dr. Chen's voice exploded in Marcus's earpiece. "Sergeant, we're reading massive energy spikes from both of you. Your neural patterns are synchronizing with hers. This shouldn't be happening." Marcus ignored the doctor. He stared at Velryn and realized something terrifying. He could feel her emotions too, not as clearly as Zara's, but they were there. Grief, rage, desperation, and underneath it all, a mother's fierce love that would burn worlds to protect her child. "You bonded with my daughter," Velryn said quietly. "You died for her, gave your life for her. That is sacred. That is Thalkar. But something more happened, something our oldest texts speak of, but we thought was myth." "What?" Marcus asked. "The bond extended," Velryn said. "When you saved Zara, you did not just bond with her, you bonded with her bloodline, with me." Marcus felt his blood turn to ice. "That's impossible." "Many things are impossible until they happen," Velryn said. She reached out with one hand, moving slowly. "May I?" Marcus did not know what she was asking, but something in the bond told him to trust her. He nodded. Velryn placed her palm flat against Marcus's chest. The moment she touched him, Marcus's world exploded. Images flooded his mind, not from Zara this time, from Velryn. She saw a younger Velryn, barely 20 years old in human terms, holding a newborn Zara for the first time. Saw her singing lullabies in a language older than human civilization. Saw Zara's first steps, first words, first laugh. But then the images turned dark. Marcus saw a meeting room, Kralix officials shouting, saw Velryn reading a report that made her face twist with horror, saw words he could not read but felt their meaning burn into her soul. Human colonists had discovered a Kralix settlement, an isolated group, peaceful. They had lived there for generations, hidden from both empires, just farmers, families, children. The human military had classified them as hostile, ordered an immediate strike. Marcus saw the aftermath through Velryn's memories, saw the burned settlement, saw Kralix children dead in the streets, saw fathers and mothers who had done nothing wrong, killed because they existed. And then Marcus saw Velryn making a choice, a terrible choice. She had argued for peace, begged the Krallick's High Council to seek diplomatic solutions, but the Council wanted blood, wanted revenge. They gave Velryn a direct order: destroy 3 human colonies, balance the scales, make humanity understand loss. Velryn had refused, so they threatened to kill Zara, told Velryn that if she did not obey, her daughter would be executed as a traitor's child. Marcus watched Velryn break, watched her agree to lead the attacks, watched her become the monster humans feared, not because she wanted to, because she had no choice. The images faded. Marcus stumbled backward, gasping for air. Velryn removed her hand and stepped back, her own breathing heavy. "Now you know," Velryn said quietly. "Now you understand what your people made me do." "That's a lie," Admiral Morrison's voice shouted through the earpiece. "Sergeant, do not believe her. This is Krallick's propaganda, mind manipulation." But Marcus knew it was not a lie. He had felt the truth in those memories, felt Velryn's genuine horror at what she had been forced to do. The bond did not allow lies, only truth. "Why show me this?" Marcus asked. "Because you are Thalkar," Velryn said. "You are bonded to Zara, and through her, connected to me. That makes you family whether you want it or not. And family does not keep secrets." Zara pulled at Velryn's robes. "Mama, are you going to hurt him?" "No, little star," Velryn said, switching to a gentler tone. "I would never hurt your Thalkar. He is precious now, sacred." She looked back at Marcus with her 4 intense eyes. "I came here for 2 reasons. First, to reclaim my daughter. That is my right as her mother. And second," Marcus asked, "to reclaim you. By our laws, you are Thalkar, father who chose. You must live among us for 1 full cycle, 12 human months, to honor the bond, to complete the ritual." Marcus felt the Admiral's panic through the earpiece. "Negative. Sergeant, you will not agree to this. That is a direct order." "What happens if I refuse?" Marcus asked Velryn. Velryn's expression hardened. "The bond will degrade, slowly at first, then faster. Zara will feel it like knives in her mind. It will drive her insane with pain. Eventually, it will kill her, and because you are connected to her, it will kill you too." "You're lying," Marcus said, but his voice lacked conviction. "Am I?" Velryn asked. "Feel the bond right now. Feel how it pulses, how it lives. It is not just energy, it is alive, and like all living things, it requires nourishment, care, completion. Without the ritual, it will starve." Dr. Chen's panicked voice cut in. "She's right, Sergeant. I've been analyzing the bond's energy patterns. It's unstable. If you don't stabilize it within 3 months, it could collapse catastrophically."
The rescue should have been impossible. Velryn's ship screamed through the debris field surrounding the human station. Threxian weapons fire lit up the darkness like deadly fireworks. Every impact shook the hull. Every near miss reminded Marcus that they were seconds away from death. "Approaching the educational wing," the helmsman called out. "Structural integrity is failing. We have maybe 3 minutes before that entire section collapses." Marcus pressed against the viewport, watching the dying station spin slowly in the void. Somewhere in that twisted metal and shattered glass were 37 children. He could feel them through the bond. Their fear crashed over him in waves. Some were crying, some were praying, some had simply given up hope. "Can we dock?" Velryn asked her crew. "Negative, Commander. The docking ports are destroyed. We'll have to breach directly through the hull." Velryn turned to Marcus. "How many children?" 37, Marcus said without hesitation. "Ages 5 to 12. They're in a reinforced classroom on Deck 9. The door is sealed. They can't get out." A Krallick's officer stared at Marcus in disbelief. "How can you possibly know all that?" "The bond," Marcus said. "Zara and I, we can feel them. It's like they're broadcasting their fear and we're receiving it." Dr. Chen's voice would have called this impossible. The life bond was supposed to connect 2 individuals, not create some kind of empathic radar. But impossible things kept happening around Marcus lately. "Boarding teams ready," Velrin commanded. "We go in, we get the children, we leave. 5 minutes maximum. Marcus, you're with me." "Commander, respectfully, that's insane," one of her officers protested. "He's human. If your troops see him with you, they might—" "They will obey," Velrin cut him off coldly, "or they will answer to me personally. Marcus is Thalkar. That makes him untouchable. Spread the word." The officer bowed and rushed off. Velrin grabbed Marcus's arm and pulled him toward the boarding bay. Zara ran alongside them, refusing to be left behind. "Little Star, you must stay here," Velrin said gently. "It's too dangerous." "No," Zara grabbed Marcus's hand. "We're bonded. That's how it works." Velrin looked like she wanted to argue, but another explosion racked the ship. No time for debate. She scooped Zara up and kept moving. They reached the boarding bay where 20 Krolix warriors waited in full combat armor. Each one stood nearly 8 feet tall, bristling with weapons. When they saw Marcus, every single one of them froze. "That's a human," one warrior growled in Krolix. "Why is he here?" "He is Thalkar, bonded to my daughter, bonded to our bloodline. He has more right to be here than any of you." The warriors exchanged uncertain glances but said nothing. Velrin was their commander. Her word was law. "Breach in 30 seconds, someone announced. Velrin handed Zara to a trusted aide. "Keep her safe. If we don't return, you will return," Zara interrupted. "I can feel it. You and Thalkar together are strong, stronger than you know." Velrin kissed her daughter's forehead, then turned to Marcus. "Stay close to me. My warriors are disciplined, but this is chaos. If you get separated, they might mistake you for an enemy." Marcus nodded and grabbed a spare helmet from the wall. It was designed for Krolix physiology, but he made it work. The breach charges detonated with a thunderous boom. Metal screamed as the ship's cutting lasers carved through the station's hull. Emergency alarms wailed. Atmosphere vented in a violent rush until the emergency fields kicked in. "Go! Go! Go!" Velrin shouted. The boarding team poured through the breach into the dying station. Marcus followed, his boots hitting the deck with a metallic clang. The corridor was a disaster. Sparking wires, collapsed ceilings, bodies, human bodies, station security personnel who had died trying to protect the children. Marcus felt bile rise in his throat. These were my people, my species, dead because someone wanted to make sure peace never happened? "This way," Marcus said, pointing down a side corridor. "The children are 3 sections over." They moved fast, weapons raised. 2 Krolix warriors took point, scanning for threats. The station groaned around them like a dying animal. They passed more bodies, more destruction, evidence of how quickly everything had fallen apart. "Contact!" one of the warriors shouted. 3 Threxian soldiers appeared from a side passage. They were reptilian, scaled, with 4 arms and eyes that glowed yellow. They carried plasma rifles and wore armor that shimmered with personal shields. "Kill the Krolix. The humans pay triple for proof." Marcus's blood went cold. The humans paid them? But that meant... No, time to think. The Threxians opened fire. Velrin's warriors responded instantly. Plasma bolts filled the corridor. The Threxian shields absorbed the first volley, but the second broke through. 2 Threxians went down. The third retreated, still firing. "Pursuit Team Alpha, eliminate that target. The rest of you, with me." They pressed forward. 30 seconds gone. 4 minutes 30 remaining. They reached the sealed classroom door. Through the small window, Marcus could see the children huddled inside. Human children. When they saw the Krolix warriors, they screamed and pressed themselves against the far wall. "They're terrified of us," one warrior muttered. "Of course they are. They've been taught that Krolix are monsters, just like humans have been taught the same." He stepped forward and knocked on the door. The children stared at him with wide, frightened eyes. "My name is Sergeant Marcus Kane. I'm with the 42nd Battalion. We're here to rescue you." "You're with them!" a young girl shouted, pointing at the Krolix. "You're a traitor!" Marcus felt the word hit him like a physical blow. Maybe I was a traitor. I had chosen to help Velrin instead of staying with my own people. But right now, that didn't matter. "I'm with the people who came back to save you," Marcus said firmly. "Now please, step back from the door. We need to cut through." The children reluctantly moved back. Velrin's Krolek's warriors used plasma cutters to slice through the reinforced door. 60 seconds, 3 minutes 30 remaining. The door fell inward with a crash. Marcus stepped first, hands raised to show he was unarmed. "We need to move quickly. This section is collapsing. Form a line, hold hands, don't let go." "We're not going with the monsters," a boy shouted. "Then you'll die here," Velrin said, stepping into the doorway. Her massive form filled the frame. The children shrank back in terror. But then Zara appeared, having escaped from her aide. She squeezed past her mother and ran to Marcus. "They're not monsters," Zara said in heavily accented English. Marcus realized she had been learning his language through the bond. "My mama and Thalkar came back for you. Even though it's dangerous, even though you're enemies, they came back because children should not die. That's what real heroes do." The children stared at Zara, at her 6 fingers, her violet eyes, her silver blue skin, an alien child who spoke their language and defended them. "Please," Marcus added quietly. A little girl, maybe 6 years old, stepped forward. She took Marcus's hand with her right and Zara's hand with her left. "I want to go home," the little girl whispered. "Then let's go home," Marcus said. The other children followed. One by one they formed a chain, human children holding hands with a Krolek's child and a human soldier who had bonded with aliens. It was the strangest rescue line in military history. They moved back through the corridors, fast but careful. Velrin's Krolek's warriors formed a protective circle around them. More Threxian soldiers appeared, but the Kroleks cut them down without mercy. 90 seconds remaining. They reached the breach point. The ship was waiting on the other side, emergency fields shimmering to hold atmosphere. Getting everyone across would be tight. "Children first," Velrin ordered. "Warriors, form a defensive line." The children scrambled through the breach, urged on by Krolek's crew members who caught them on the other side. Marcus helped lift the smaller ones across the gap. 45 seconds. That's when Marcus felt it, a presence through the bond. Not Zara, not the children, something else, someone else, nearby, watching. Marcus turned and saw a figure in the shadows at the far end of the corridor. Human, male, wearing an officer's uniform. The man raised something to his face, a communicator. "Charges are set. Detonating now." Marcus's heart stopped. "Everyone off the station! Now! Now!" But it was too late. Explosions ripped through the educational wing. Not Threxian weapons, human demolition charges. Someone had sabotaged the rescue. The corridor collapsed. The breach point twisted and tore away. Marcus felt himself falling as the deck gave way beneath his feet. He grabbed onto a piece of twisted metal, hanging over a drop that led into space. Below him, the human officer who had triggered the explosives fell into the void, screaming. Marcus watched him die and felt nothing but rage. A traitor, a human traitor working with the Threxians. "Marcus!" Velrin's voice roared above him. He looked up. Velrin hung from the ship's breach point, all 4 arms extended down toward him. Between them, her warriors had managed to secure all the children. They were safe, but Marcus was dangling in the gap, and the station was coming apart around him. "Take my hand," Velrin shouted. Marcus reached up. Their fingers touched. Then the metal he was holding onto groaned and began to tear free from its moorings. "Let go," Velrin commanded. "I've got you." Marcus let go and fell. For one terrifying second he dropped toward the void. Then Velrin's 4 hands clamped onto his arms like iron vices. She pulled him up with impossible strength, hauling him through the breach just as the station's educational wing exploded completely. They tumbled onto the ship's deck, together. Alarm screamed. The ship's engines roared as they pulled away from the dying station. Through the viewports, Marcus watched the rest of the human facility break apart and burn. How many people had died? How many souls lost because someone wanted to stop peace? "Get us out of here," Velrin ordered. "Maximum speed. Jump to Krolek space." "The Threxian ships are pursuing," the helmsman reported. "Then lose them. Use the Veil Nebula. They won't follow us in there."
The weapon had been hidden for 8 years, and nobody had suspected a thing. Marcus stood in the command center of Velrin's flagship, staring at data that made his blood turn to ice. Around him, human and Krolek's officers worked side by side, analyzing the intelligence Captain Torres's fleet had captured from a destroyed Threxian command ship. What they found was worse than anyone imagined. It's called the Cascade Protocol, Captain Torres explained, her face pale. The Threxians didn't just manipulate us into war, they prepared for the possibility that we might figure it out and make peace. She pulled up holographic schematics. Marcus saw two massive devices, one hidden in human space, one hidden in Kralix territory, both connected through quantum communication channels, both armed and ready. Antimatter bombs, Velrin said quietly, enough to crack a planet's crust. Not just antimatter, Torres corrected. Antimatter wrapped in a quantum entanglement shell. When one detonates, it triggers the other instantly, no matter the distance, no way to stop the chain reaction. Marcus felt his stomach drop. Where are they? Torres highlighted two locations on the star map. Marcus's heart stopped. One bomb was hidden in the foundation of New Geneva, the human capital, home to 4 billion people. The other was buried beneath Kralax Prime's main city, where they were standing right now, home to 6 billion Kralax. If one goes off, both go off, Torres said. 10 billion people dead in seconds, both species decapitated. And in the chaos that follows, the Threxians sweep in and claim everything, Velrin finished. Our colonies, our resources, our technology. They don't want us to keep fighting. They want us extinct. The command center fell silent. Marcus looked around at the faces, human, Kralix. Just 3 days ago, these people had been killing each other. Now they worked together, trying to save both their species from genocide. How do we disarm them? Marcus asked. We can't, Torres said flatly. The bombs are quantum locked. Trying to disarm one will detonate both. The only way to stop them is to destroy the quantum link between them. But to do that, we'd need someone with access to the central control node. Where is it? Velrin demanded. Torres pulled up more data. The Threxian war fortress Drakath. Mobile, heavily defended, current location unknown, and even if we found it, we'd need the activation codes to access the node without triggering the failsafe. Which we don't have, Velrin said grimly. Which we don't have, Torres confirmed. Marcus felt Zara's hand slip into his. The child had refused to leave his side since the battle began. Through the bond, he felt her fear. She understood what the adults were saying, understood that her entire world might end. How long do we have? Marcus asked. Torres checked her data. According to the captured files, the Threxians gave Admiral Morrison and Kralix counterpart, Council Member Thex, 72 hours to stop the peace movement. If they fail, the Threxians detonate the bombs themselves, Marcus finished. How long ago did they send that ultimatum? Velrin asked. 68 hours, Torres said quietly. 4 hours. They had 4 hours to find a hidden fortress, break through its defenses, access a quantum-locked control system, and disable 2 planet-killing bombs connected by technology they barely understood. Impossible. There has to be another way, Marcus said desperately. Some weakness we can exploit. He stopped. Through the bond, he felt something. Not from Zara, something else. A presence pressing against his mind like a hand knocking on a door. Familiar, but strange. Marcus closed his eyes and focused. The presence grew stronger. Images flooded his mind. Not memories, intelligence, data, coordinates. His eyes snapped open. I know where the fortress is. Every officer in the command center turned to stare at him. How? Torres demanded. The bond, Marcus said, touching his chest where the connection pulsed like a second heartbeat. It's changing, growing. 3 days ago I could only feel Zara. Then I started feeling Velrin. Now I'm feeling others, other Kralix, like a network spreading through me. Velrin's 4 eyes widened. The Falcar bond. The ancient text spoke of this. When a human bonds with Kralix royalty, the connection doesn't stop with one bloodline. It spreads, slowly, touching all those who share genetic markers with the bonded Kralix. You're saying Marcus is connected to every Kralix with royal blood? Torres asked incredulously. Potentially millions, Velrin said. Our royal line has spread across every colony, every settlement, and if the bond is truly awakening... Marcus understood what she wasn't saying. There are Kralix everywhere, even among the traders, even aboard the Threxian fortress.
There are Kralix prisoners on Drakath, Marcus said with certainty. They're being tortured for information, and one of them is from Velrin's bloodline, a cousin. His name is Relmoth. He's in the fortress right now, and I can feel him. Marcus pointed at the star map. There, Sector 447, near the Dying Stars Nebula. That's where the fortress is hiding. Officers immediately began scanning. 30 seconds later, sensors confirmed a massive energy signature exactly where Marcus indicated, hidden behind layers of cloaking and jamming fields. But there. Incredible, Torres breathed. You found them. Finding them is the easy part, Velrin said. Getting inside and disabling the quantum link before they trigger the bombs, that's impossible. Then we do the impossible, Marcus said. He turned to face the entire command center. We've spent 8 years doing impossible things. Humans and Kralix fighting despite every tactical disadvantage, surviving against overwhelming odds, refusing to surrender. We're good at impossible. He pointed at the fortress on the display. That fortress is defended by the people who manipulated us, who killed our families, who turned us into monsters. They think we're still enemies. They think we'll fail because we can't trust each other, but they're wrong. Marcus looked at Torres, then at Velrin, then at the mixed human Kralix crew. 3 days ago, we were enemies. Today, we're something those profiteers never expected. We're allies, we're family, and family doesn't let 10 billion people die without a fight. The command center erupted in agreement, human and Kralix voices shouting together. For the first time in 8 years, they shared a common cause, a common enemy, a common hope. All ships prepare for assault, Velrin commanded. We hit Drakath with everything we have. Strike teams will board and fight their way to the control node. I'll lead the assault personally. I'm coming with you, Marcus said. Marcus, you're not a soldier anymore. I'm Thalkar, Marcus interrupted, bonded to your bloodline, which means I'm the only one who can navigate the fortress. Relmoth can guide us through the bond. We need him. We need me. Velrin studied him for a long moment. Then she nodded. Then we go together, as we should have from the beginning. 2 hours later, the assault on Drakath was chaos incarnate. 50 human and Kralix warships tore through the fortress's defenses like a meteor storm. Plasma fire lit up the void. Ships exploded. Fighters dogfought in swirling, desperate combat. And through it all, boarding pods launched toward the fortress's weak points. Marcus rode in one of those pods, squeezed between Velrin and a dozen elite Kralix warriors. His human combat armor looked primitive next to their advanced battlesuits, but nobody questioned his presence. He was Thalkar. He belonged. The pod slammed into the fortress hull. Cutting charges melted through armor plating. The pod doors exploded outward. Move, 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 Velrin roared. They poured into the fortress. Threxian soldiers met them immediately. 4 armed reptilian warriors with plasma rifles and personal shields. The corridor became a killing zone. Marcus took cover behind a support beam and returned fire. His rifle felt good in his hands, familiar. He had been a soldier for 5 years before the bond. That training didn't vanish just because he was now connected to aliens. A Threxian soldier charged him. Marcus shot twice, center mass. The alien went down. Left corridor, a Kralix warrior shouted. Heavy resistance. Bypass it, Marcus said. Relmoth is 3 levels down. We go straight through the ventilation shafts. How do you know that? The warrior asked. I can feel him, Marcus said. He's close, scared, in pain, but alive. They moved deeper into the fortress. Every corridor brought new enemies, new horrors. Marcus saw Threxian laboratories filled with captured Kralix and human soldiers, saw torture chambers, saw weapons designed specifically to cause maximum suffering to both species. The Threxians hadn't just profited from the war, they had enjoyed it. How much time? Velrin asked as they fought through another defensive position. 90 minutes, Torres's voice crackled through their comms. Morrison and Thex just broadcast a joint message demanding the Threxians give them more time. The Threxians refused. They're accelerating the timeline. 90 minutes. 10 billion lives. 1 quantum link.
They reached the holding cells. Marcus felt Relmoth's presence growing stronger. Pain, so much pain. The Threxians had tortured him for days, trying to extract royal military secrets. "This one," Marcus said, stopping at a sealed door. Velryn's warriors blasted it open. Inside, chained to a wall, hung a male Kralix. He was younger than Velryn. His deep blue skin was covered in burns and cuts. 2 of his 4 eyes were swollen shut, but when he saw Velryn, hope flickered across his face. "Cousin," Relmoth whispered, "you came." "Always," Velryn said, breaking his chains with her bare hands. "Can you move? For you, for our people, I can fly." Relmoth's remaining eyes focused on Marcus. "You're the